Hello, everyone. Welcome back if you have been with us earlier in the day, and welcome if you are just joining us for your first product session. We're excited to have you here today. This session is going to be about Eureka Math TEKS Edition for K through 5, and I'm going to hand it over to Dana to introduce herself and share with you information about Eureka.
Thanks, Kendrick. Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Moyer. I work in instructional materials and implementation at the Texas Education Agency, and I'm thrilled to be here to talk to you about our Texas Home Learning K-5 math option, which is Eureka Math TEKS Edition. I previously worked with Eureka Math as a teacher and then as a curriculum specialist, so excited to talk about this option and see if it's something that will work for you in your local context. Please use the chat throughout to ask any questions. I have some times to pause, and Kendrick, you can go ahead and interrupt me if there's anything really pressing that we should address in the moment. And Kendrick, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, your screen looks great. I believe we either are currently or will be joined also by a few members of the team from Eureka that can also help answer questions if those come up. So we will make sure to let them answer if there's anything that comes up that they can address specifically as well.
Great. All right, let's get started. So there's a lot of things we could talk about with Eureka Math TEKS Edition, but we're really going to focus in on a couple of things today. We're going to talk about how the materials are grounded in research-based practices for mathematics instruction, and also what components are included in the Eureka Math TEKS Edition Texas Home Learning offering. Question that is on the forefront of most of your minds is support for learning loss and other COVID challenges. So we're really going to hone in on the features of the product that can help you with that. Then we know important to an adoption decision is licensing, costs, and any additional considerations about use. And as I said, please use the chat throughout if you have any questions, and I will make sure to get those answered. So let's start with the instructional approach and components of Eureka Math TEKS Edition. First and foremost, I wanted to name that all of our Texas Home Learning materials were reviewed for quality and meet the bar for these 6 components or characteristics. So Eureka Math TEKS Edition includes full unit plans and daily lesson plans that are fully aligned to the TEKS and include remote guidance. They have teacher, student, and family supports, and all of the lessons can be accessed with videos that we will definitely talk about today. There's a digital format with printing capability, and I'll hopefully, if we have time, be able to even show you what some of the interactive features for digital use for students look like. And then there are accessibility supports for all learners. Some of those are materials included in Spanish, and supports to understand and respond to individual student learning within the grade level material. There's also formative and summative assessments included within Eureka Math TEKS Edition. And I also will spend some time really highlighting this additional component that's part of the Texas Home Learning offering called Eureka Math Equip, which is specifically designed to support unfinished learning due to COVID or other unfinished learning causes. And then there are daily exit tickets included in the lesson plans that support built-in progress monitoring. So the Eureka Math team names 4 curriculum pillars that helped build the foundation of their program: coherence, knowledge building, joyful and rigorous engagement, and that they are educative for teachers. And really the combination of these 4 curriculum pillars integrates the mathematical process standards with the grade level TEKS to support all students. Now, I could talk about that all day, but I think it's a lot more important to hear what Texas educators are saying. So an administrator has really talked about how the TEKS are covered to different degrees, and using the materials have helped them better understand which TEKS are foundational, which TEKS are focused, and has really helped them engage with their teachers around mastery of the different TEKS. So just to want to highlight that and then look at what coherence really looks like in the Eureka Math materials. So sometimes US textbooks in mathematics prioritize a spiraling approach in which topics are partially taught and then returned to, and there aren't really clear connections made for students to connect the dots between different mathematical concepts. In contrast, the Eureka Math TEKS Edition materials really are built on coherence, the principle that mathematics is most effectively taught as a logical, progressing, engaging story. And the main character in that story is the basic building block of arithmetic, or the unit. Themes like measurement, place value, fractions run throughout the storyline, and each is given an appropriate amount of time. So students make connections both within a grade level and across grade levels. And on the screen, I just wanted to highlight one of the features of the materials that really supports coherence. On the top row, you can see that students start engaging with a number bond, this tool that's represented in representational form, in kindergarten. And they think about how 8 cars can be decomposed into 5 and 3 cars. But you can see how that same model is used coherently in the materials when they're talking about place value, when they're talking about decimals, fractions, measurement units, and all the way into pre-algebra. So this coherent structure of Eureka Math TEKS Edition and the consistent tools and models help students make those connections between concepts. And also the curriculum structure itself really exemplifies within grade coherence. The modules are written like a story. So you're going to notice the same coherence within each module and across modules within a grade. And you'll notice that each module is organized within coherent topics that connect to the larger module. So it's really about making those connections and making sense of the mathematics across. The second curriculum pillar that Eureka Math TEKS Edition is built on is knowledge building. Students build knowledge in mathematics through the CRA approach, progressing from concrete, like the little discs you can see on the page, progressing to representational or drawings of those concrete manipulatives, to abstract. And you can see here an excerpt from a Eureka Math lesson in which students and their teacher are having a discussion about concrete, representational, and abstract representations building towards multiplication. So you can see how the program builds and helps students build knowledge in a way that matches how we know students learn math. The Eureka Math materials are also founded on joyful and rigorous engagement. There's a lot of things I could highlight there, but a couple I'd like to highlight are the fluency practice. So the fluency practice is meant to be engaging for all students. There's different routines that students engage in, and it's just really a way to bring out everybody together and engage in a fun way rather than doing some procedural drills and practice in that way. Also wanted to note the integrated scaffolds and supports for all learners that are in the Eureka Math materials, because when we say joyful and rigorous engagement, we mean for all students. And so the scaffolds that are incorporated in the Eureka Math materials helps teachers to reach all students and make that a reality. The final pillar I wanted to highlight for the Eureka Math TEKS Edition materials is that they are educative for teachers. We know that high quality instructional materials are only as effective as how well they are used. And so built into the materials themselves are many supports for teachers, administrators to understand the materials and help prepare to effectively implement them for students. So just a few examples, because there's so many. Preparing to teach a module, preparing to teach a lesson, suggested methods of instructional delivery. The idea that the materials both build teachers' content knowledge and help them practice and prepare for delivery to students is really foundational to the Eureka Math TEKS Edition materials. Now I'm going to go into the biggest part of our session, which is supports for learning loss and other COVID challenges, because I know that this is incredibly important every year, but especially this year, just how we can support unfinished learning and learning loss. If you were at the conference yesterday, you saw these three COVID-related pain points and perhaps reflected on some additional pain points in your local context. So learning gaps from a year of interrupted learning, teacher capacity to try to meet the needs of students learning in different environments, especially, and some questions about whether school will be remote or in person next year. So I want to highlight some features of the Eureka Math TEKS Edition materials that support with these pain points specifically. First, why Tier 1 materials to support COVID learning loss? We addressed this a little bit at the conference yesterday as well. Strong products like Eureka Math TEKS Edition provide strong Tier 1 instruction geared at all students. And within the materials, one of the features of high quality materials is that there are embedded ways to address learning loss. And all of the products in Texas Home Learning support both in-person and remote instruction. And using high quality materials allows teachers to take time away from having to find or create materials and instead be able to do what matters most to support all their students in differentiation and supporting their health and wellness needs, in particular related to the challenges of COVID. And again, I could talk about this a lot, but I wanted to highlight another Texas district and what they're saying. This curriculum specialist really highlighted some of the features that we're going to look at in a moment, the daily lesson videos and the Learn Anywhere plans that help support educators, especially those with virtual students, and that the curriculum itself being educative for teachers helps you to understand the TEKS and what students are learning. So in every module of Eureka Math TEKS Edition, the focus grade level standards are pulled out, and then also the foundational standards. So in this third grade example, you can see the second grade foundational standards that are specific to the content in this module that are pulled out. What a great starting point to know that if your students had interrupted learning over the past year, they might be missing some of this foundational second grade content that they need in order to access the third grade content. So that's one thing built into every Eureka Math module to support with unfinished learning. I really want to highlight the Eureka Math Equip tool, which is part of Texas Home Learning, and it is directly aligned to the Eureka Math instructional materials. So the Eureka Math Equip tool is designed to do exactly just-in-time intervention. If you're familiar with or saw our presentation yesterday on just-in-time intervention, it's really exactly what the Equip tool is designed to do. So teachers can administer a pre-module assessment, which is available both print and digitally. It's very quick. They can also administer observational assessments. They analyze data and get reports through the Equip tool, and then they can make instructional decisions for the supporting content before they begin the module instruction. So it's really about shifting to what are the foundational, Eureka calls them the essential foundational knowledge that students need to have to be able to access grade level instruction specific to that module. And the Eureka Math Equip tool does that, does some support in that way. It helps you with observational assessment. It helps with making instructional decisions, even to the point of giving some mini lessons and guidance on what to do before you start the module. So here's an example of an observational assessment where teachers can monitor students' foundational knowledge development. And this is all knowledge that is foundational to the upcoming module. So you can keep track of how students are doing on what they should have learned previously, but might not have due to learning disruption. The Eureka Math Equip tool includes pre-assessment data, as I mentioned. There's an example of an assessment item that students can take digitally or in print, and then some assessment reporting to assess students' foundational knowledge before starting the module. And then the Eureka Math Equip tool, based on the data that you get, will provide some instructional recommendations of how to address a gap for large groups of students or for a subset of students that had a particular essential foundational knowledge gap. really want to highlight the intention of the Eureka Math Equip tool and how it supports just-in-time intervention. So it really wants to sprinkle intervention at the most appropriate times through the year. So you can see intervention can happen in Module 1 related to Module 1 content, and in Module 2 related to Module 2 content. Our traditional approach sometimes clumps intervention with a huge amount of below grade level content at the beginning of the year or at other parts in response to reteach. And so we just really wanted to highlight that the Eureka Math Equip tool is intended to be really aligned to the actual module that students are about to engage in, so that you're kind of sprinkling your intervention when it is most strategic throughout the year. I'm going to go into the next tool that is included with the Eureka Math TEKS Edition Texas Home Learning program that supports synchronous and asynchronous learning. So this is also included. I know I'm going into a third resource fully aligned to the instructional materials meant to be used together. It's called Eureka Math in Sync. And there are Learn Anywhere plans and lesson videos are the two main supports I'm going to go into today, because they most directly address COVID learning loss and COVID pain point challenges. First, our daily lesson videos. So every Eureka Math lesson has a recorded video with a teacher. You can see the teacher up in the corner of the screen in this screenshot, who delivers some of the most essential content from the lesson. And this is meant to be student facing. So teachers can use these daily videos as an asynchronous support and then focus their time in synchronous learning in a different way. These videos are available in both English and Spanish, and there's a lot of different ways you could use them to fill your unfinished learning needs. You know, students could watch them for homework and get some preview of what's coming up the next day. Students could do them in their asynchronous learning time. Just a lot of potential for learning directly from a teacher in a recorded video with these daily lesson videos. I also wanted to highlight the Learn Anywhere plans. So the Learn Anywhere plans help teachers with instructional recommendations from the lessons to do synchronously versus asynchronously. And we know that that's been such a challenge to be able to identify what to do in person and what to do or virtually synchronously and what to do asynchronously. So these Learn Anywhere plans are available to help teachers with those instructional recommendations. I'm going to pause and take a look at the chat and ask if anybody has any questions that they want to come off mute and ask right now before we go into the next section. I see there's a question about a manipulative list for each grade level that's needed to use the materials. Yes, we do have that. I actually just saw that recently. Beth, thank you for that question. So what I'm going to do is see if I can get a follow-up to get that on our website as an additional support related to the Eureka materials. And if not, we can follow up directly. Kendrick, are there any other questions?
Nope, that was the only one that's come through. And I know Melissa was trying to see if she could pull that list up as well to share with people.
I do have it. I could potentially grab it at the end, or Melissa could potentially share it out, but we'll make sure to get it either on our website or to participants directly, because we know that's important.
But no, I haven't any other questions yet.
All right. So we have a little bit of time that we're going to actually see what the Eureka Math TEKS Edition materials look like. So I'm going to switch to our website. Kendrick, are you still seeing my screen and now seeing Texas Home Learning?
Yes, we are seeing the Texas Home Learning site.
Great. So I highlighted some of the supports through Eureka Math Equip and Eureka Math in Sync. And I just wanted to show you where you can access some of these materials and get an idea of what they look like. So if you haven't already accessed Eureka Math TEKS Edition, the best way to do it is directly through our Texas Home Learning website. You can click register, and it's a pretty quick process. And of course, it is free to register. And then once you have access to the materials, you'll be able to see every grade level of materials that are available and all of the supports that come with them. So I was a kindergarten teacher, so we'll look at kindergarten first. You can see there's a getting started guide that'll help you get started with the Eureka Math materials and support your implementation. And then if we go into a module, it starts with all of the module level supports and a couple of things that I want to highlight. There's a welcome video, which is a, oh, unexpected error, of course. It's coming. So the welcome video is from a teacher, and it is student facing. So if students are doing a lot of asynchronous learning, you can just see how excited this teacher is to welcome them into Module 1 kindergarten content. Then you can go into the materials themselves, again, organized coherently by topic. And if we just look at what's included, I wanted to highlight a few things. So there's a topic overview, which is intended more for teachers, but then there's also a family tip sheet, which helps families understand what their students are learning and how they can help at home. So a really excited support as families become even more important during this time of uncertainty in supporting their children's education. So then if you go into the lesson level, I named many of these supports, but I just wanted to show you where they are. There's the actual lesson meant for teachers. There's the Learn Anywhere plan, which is the asynchronous and synchronous recommendations. There's the daily video, which I'm going to click on, and you can see that it's about 13 minutes long. They vary in length a little bit, so it's not a full lesson. But again, it is a teacher pre-recorded with some of the materials shared on the screen, can help students with unfinished learning and asynchronous learning time. And then all of the instructional materials for students to participate in. There's the lesson, the exit tickets, all of that is here for you. So it's just really a comprehensive product with lots of supports for these COVID challenges that we're seeing. I'm going to go back to presentation and address a few frequently asked questions that are important for your adoption consideration. So around licensing, cost, and any additional considerations you might want to think about. So first, where can I explore the Eureka Math materials? I just walked you through that, but you definitely want to start on texashomelearning.org. And I wanted to highlight, there's a lot of things there. If you want to ask some teachers or instructional leaders in your district to go ahead and explore the Eureka Math materials further, there's some highlighted materials pulled out. We've hosted a lot of webinars and trainings already that you can watch the recordings. You can sign up for materials access for free. And the best thing to do is to get a feel for the materials yourself and see if they'll meet your local needs. Important consideration around licensing. How long is Eureka Math TEKS Edition available for free through Texas Home Learning? So I highlighted 3 different components of the comprehensive Texas Home Learning offering today, and I just wanted to be clear about their availability. So Eureka Math TEKS Edition, the core instructional materials, the modules, lessons, assessments, those are available for free forever as an open education resource. Some of the additional digital tools that I highlighted, particularly the Eureka Math Equip, which is the assessment tool to support unfinished learning, that's available for the next 2 years. And Eureka Math InSync, which has the daily lesson videos that we saw and some other remote learning supports, that's available for free for 4 years. So I know that's an important consideration in any adoption decisions is licensing and how long those materials will be available for free. The last 2 will be available at cost after those licenses expire. Are there any other additional costs to consider? And one of these came up already today and we're following up on. So there are print costs if you are going to print the materials, there's definitely a print cost. And then also manipulative kits are available for purchase, and we are getting some additional information on request about the manipulative kits that are available for purchase. You'll definitely want to consider in your local context if you have some of the manipulatives already, and what your manipulative needs are.
Hey,
Another
Dana.
question. Hi, Josh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you wanted me to add a little bit, I could. If not, I
I
can
would
wait
love
towards
that.
the
Go
end.
ahead.
Mhm.
Yes.
For the manipulative kits, yes, I know that we have a list going, but typically when we're working with manipulatives, Great Minds works with Didax as our third-party vendor. So when districts are looking to purchase manipulatives, they'll work with the representative from Didax. And so they can purchase it as a basic kit or as a full deluxe kit. But we also provide the list since we know that many schools have many of the manipulatives already. So using the list, they can see, okay, is it easier to purchase the full kit or just purchase particular manipulatives that we may need that we don't already have in our classroom?
Perfect. Thank you for sharing more about the flexibility in the way that you're supporting districts. And that was Josh from Great Minds, the team that makes Eureka. So if you are considering adoption, you're going to be connecting with Josh at some point, and he'll support with lots of your Eureka related needs. So thank you, Josh. Next question, we really encourage in the adoption process, if you have the time and the ability to do a pilot, it is a great opportunity to see if the materials are right for you. So are there opportunities to pilot Texas home learning materials, including Eureka Math TEKS Edition? So we do have 3 new supports for interested districts through our CRMSI, our COVID Response Instructional Materials Support Initiative. We've got spring adoption coaching for the 21-22 school year. We have a summer pilot, and we have a 21-22 full year pilot. We also currently have people involved in a spring pilot that might be listening as well. So those new opportunities that are coming, the spring adoption coaching is if you're interested in getting some additional support for teachers and would like some coaching to determine what THL products might meet your local needs. A summer pilot is if you're thinking about really strategically addressing COVID-related learning loss in your summer program. So we're having customized Texas summer learning options for you. The deadline for both of those opportunities is April 9th. And then another option is a 21-22 full year pilot to support full year implementation. And as a pilot, that could be within a school, within a couple of grade levels, or a full district pilot. And that one is June 11th or until capacity is full. We're accepting on a rolling basis. Next question we get a lot is, can I use Eureka Math TEKS Edition if you are using a blended math program? And the answer is you can use Eureka Math TEKS Edition in any way that meets your local needs, including with a digital math program in a blended model. But if you are in particular interested in ST Math or Zern, we have 2 opportunities today to learn more about free access to those digital supplements to the Eureka Math TEKS Edition program. And that's all I have. So I'm going to pause for questions and see if any questions have come through to Kendrick, or if there's anything else that we can share. Anyone's welcome to come off of mute if you'd like to ask a question that way, or put your question in the chat.
So a question just came in, I think directly to me in the chat. With the products that are free for 2 and 4 years, does that begin with the 21-22 school year? So when would that start?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask Josh to come off mute and confirm. I believe it's through November of 2023 and November of 2024. Josh, can you confirm that for Equip and InSync?
Yes, for InSync, the way we would consider it is like this being year one for school years, because the following year would land with their new math adoption with the math adoption cycle of Texas. And then the 2-year one, that one, it will cover them next school year. And then I believe it goes into half of the other school year. So I'm already working to see what that will look like in year 3, if we're considering this year 1. But for schools for next year, no charge. It's that year 3 that I'm working with the company to see what is that going to look like, since it comes like mid-school year in November. So more to come on that one, but yes.
So to clarify, Josh, the 2021 school year is counted as year 1?
They're considering it based on the contract from when Equip became available. And so they're considering this year as year 1, next year as year 2, and then the contract didn't start until November. So it goes all the way until November of the following school year.
So November of 2022?
Yes, give me one. Let me do the year of my. Yes, November of 22.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Any other questions or requests to see any additional materials?
And could you repeat once again what Eureka Math InSync is for?
Absolutely. I'll start and then I'll let Josh add anything he wants to add, and I'll go back a couple of slides. Eureka Math InSync has supports for asynchronous and synchronous learning. So there's a couple of components. It has the Learn Anywhere plans and the lesson videos, which are the ones I highlighted today, but it has some additional support for topic facilitation through slide decks and discussion-based assessment. So the daily lesson videos have a pre-recorded teacher with some of the instructional materials on screen, and students can watch them in their asynchronous learning time to get some of the learning, either unfinished learning in any way that you want to use it, from the previous grade level, from upcoming content. And those are in English and Spanish, those daily lesson videos. And then the Learn Anywhere plans have recommendations on remote learning and how to focus on the most important content for synchronous time, and then what would be beneficial to do during asynchronous time. So it's a way to adapt, effectively adapt the instructional materials for our, current remote and hybrid learning environments. Josh, is there anything else you'd like to add about the InSync materials?
Yeah, so the way I like to consider InSync is kind of like, where is the one-stop shop for everything I need to access? So when I go into the InSync platform, you're going to be accessing all of the materials that a student or teacher would need if they were doing in-person instruction. So they would have the full teacher edition, any of the handouts students would need, and resources that way. But then if you were going hybrid or virtual, embedded already at the lesson topic and module level are the additional resources that you just talked about, Dana. The Learn Anywhere plan on how do I switch from the lesson plan that we have to the adjusted Learn Anywhere plan. How do I support students with that daily lesson video and the topic facilitation slides for when I'm meeting through Teams or Google Classroom. So it's kind of everything all together is what I consider InSync. But InSync is really those added features to make Eureka Math equitable in those hybrid and virtual environments.
And I think a real benefit of that is when we think back to our COVID pain points that we discussed, one of them being teacher capacity and the challenge of trying to make something that works remotely and something that works in person. The InSync resource really makes it so you can be teaching the same content and students can be engaging in a lot of the same activities. So you're really preparing only for one content, but it's you know, be able to be used in these different formats.
So I just had a clarification question. If we use in sync with that other component, and it's free for a year, are the lessons in Eureka Math, it's like in sync just takes the Eureka Math lessons and kind of pulls it all together with the virtual piece? So if so the in sync piece is free for next year for sure. If it drops off, are the Eureka Math lessons still the same lessons? It's not a whole different bank of lessons, correct? It's just the piece that you could use for the blended learning environment.
The lessons will be the same. I'll name that we, you know, always want to be in a continuous improvement in terms of improving lessons over time based on feedback, but the lessons themselves, your assumption is correct. The lessons will be the same. It'll just be the remote learning supports.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Dana, if you wanted to share what the portal looks like, we can show them what ribbon would disappear when equip goes, but everything else would still stay present.
Yeah, I can navigate back.
So when you're looking within InSync and you're looking at what are my grade level, module, topic, and lesson resources, all of those will still stay even after equip. Equip is its own drop-down ribbon within the platform. So it wouldn't impact how you navigate the other pieces. So in here, the way that Dana is showing, everything that you're seeing in here, all of this will exist for the 4 years. None of this is disappearing.
Thanks, Josh.
Dana, can I share screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I just wanted to show one extra. Can everyone see my screen?
I can.
Okay, so in Dana's, the one when you were looking, so you saw the modules. When I open up, you see how you saw your topics. So in here, when you saw this equip, if the school, as we move into that year 3, year 4, didn't move forward with equip, they just wouldn't see this ribbon here, which had the teacher guide and the assessment for the print and digital access. But everything else that you're seeing, the topic, all of the topic resources, all of these resources here under the lesson are there for the 4 years, untouched and unremoved.
Thanks so much.
After the equip license is finished with TEA, if a region wants to purchase it, would it just populate within the same platform?
Hi, Paxton. That's a great question. I think what Josh shared, we're still trying to figure out what that transition will look like. That will likely be at the district level, coordinating directly with the Great Minds team at that point. But at this point, we can only share that it is an adoption consideration, the licensing time, but it's something that we are working on. Melissa, do you want to add anything about that?
And I would say what would happen on our end is as we're preparing for back to school rostering, making sure that all of your class sections and everything are correct, we would work to make sure that you would have uninterrupted service for that licensing. And so what would happen would just details to come, right? But it would be what would be like the prorated version or discounted for what it would be, right? Saying since it only goes to November, it would be okay. You're only really paying for half a year or whatever, but no disruption. Data is not going to be moved from one bank to another. So you would have seamless for your back to school.
Thanks.
Thanks, Josh. I don't think I have anything additional to add. I think we're just, because you're able to work directly with great minds, they're able to keep it specific to your district and your students, which is a great option for this.
Could we have Josh, I don't know, can we have your contact information? Are you the one that we're supposed to contact for the district specific type things? And if so, could we get your contact information and maybe in the chat or something?
So Beth, for registration, if you haven't yet registered for THL, make sure first one to do that, because that'll get you connected and get it set up. And then I'll leave it to Josh to answer that, but we can also transfer information if we need to as well, Josh.
Yeah, so I put my email in the chat. When you go to like greatminds.org/Texas, even if you didn't have my email, if you fill out that form for any questions, that comes directly to me and I'll be able to reach out to you. If you go to THL or Crimsy at TA.gov, they'll route it to us when it's Great Minds specific to help you with rostering and gaining access to materials. So you have various routes to get to us. But yes, I would help coordinate logistics with rostering, ordering. If you're doing a pilot, whatever it may be, I'll be your one-stop shop for Great Minds and then route you to the correct participant or person.
Thank you so much.
Josh is super helpful and very responsive. So I'll just name that. And loves Texas. So he's helping us out a lot here.
Yes, former Texas science educator. So STEM is very near and dear to my heart.
And then I added in the chat the Texas Home Learning email. So if you have any questions about things like Crimsy, participating in the pilot, those you could send to Texas Home Learning. I am going to stay on until 1:20, the end of the session. And our next session begins at 1:30. And that session is on, Kendra, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that session is on ST Math.
That's correct.
Correct. So if that's something that you're considering in a blended model, you might be interested in staying on for ST Math. I'm also going to stay on, like I said, to answer any additional questions. But it seems like we're petering out on questions. So if you need to go and you're not staying for ST Math, CERN, or any of our other sessions for today, thank you so much for being here. And please don't hesitate to reach out to either Josh or Texas Home Learning for any Eureka Math related questions. We're really happy to have you here.
And I just placed in the chat a feedback link. This is, if you've been here earlier today, it's the same form. You'll just fill it out specific to this session. There's a drop down for all of the different product sessions. We would love your feedback. And also if you have any remaining questions, there's an option there to write that question and leave us your email so that we can make sure to get back to you as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like Dana said, she'll stay for a little bit if there's any more questions you think of, but otherwise we will take a break until 1:30. Thank y'all so much.